And good evening once again, everybody. Welcome to another epic edition here of the Mass Steel Podcast. With, of course, yours truly, Charles Prodigy Richey, right now, as we continue to move along, hopefully trying to get this game played on Tuesday night. If anyone's been a stranger all week, doesn't take anyone else to piece things together here. The Steelers-Ravens game, which was supposed to be played on Thursday night on Thanksgiving, has been canceled not once, not twice, but possibly a third time. And as of yet, right now, it doesn't sound like there's any confirmed plans that the league will try and move the game to week 18 should the game not go on Tuesday night, which is the sad thing here as we take a look at it right now. A lot of big question marks to take a look along the way right now. A lot of accountability right now with everything going on. You look at everything that's been happening this year, where the Steelers had to lose their initial bye, which was back in week number 4 versus Titans when the initial COVID spread got started right there. And then you also look at it right there, along many other things right there. Aside from that, you take a look at where the Steelers had to play at least from that point on. Basically, throughout that stretch, 13 games throughout the season. And not only that, too, you also lose more than likely a mini bye that they could have been having right after Thanksgiving, which would have given them at least 10 days rest to face the Washington football team. But then again, too, they may somehow get that back if that's canceled. The only problem is we're looking at if it's going to be canceled, there will be some game checks being forfeited right here. And if game checks were to be forfeited, according to Phil Yates, who's a senior writer for ESPN for the NFL, the Ravens players will lose a collective of over $7.2 million, while the Steelers will lose over $5.5 million, nearly $13 million combined if there is no game to be played at all. This game completely gets wiped off the table. Now, a lot of the biggest things, too, when we take a look at here, the timeline, how this thing was getting tracked down, how this thing was able to happen, along the way. When you really think about it here, it's just been sad right here how you also see Mike Tomlin, who gets picked with a little mini fine earlier, too, by having his mask slightly below the nose right there. But, at the same time, too, where is the standard here? That we're trying to hold people accountable here, for other teams. The thing is, a lot of Steelers fans and people in the media in Pittsburgh are looking at it as that, like the teams that have been doing wrong seem to be getting more time bought to play their games. They're trying to extend it, trying to space it out. You're running into more difficulty where it's getting late in the season right now, and it's going to start quickly spreading like wildfire here. There's still been some talks right now if the NFL should try and implement a bubble environment. When you look at it, that's the sickening thing. This is where we're at right now. And when we truly look at it here, I think the thing is, too, when we really look at it like decisively, at this time with the bubble, how are you going to accommodate all these teams right here? It's a little bit more late in the season. You shut down for like a week or two, get something created here, and try to implement something in progress. I think those are the hard, cold facts you have to look at in the mirror right now as going forward as part of the league's plan right now to try and ensure the safety of these players right now. Like I said, let's go take a look at the timeline, shall we? How we got here, where we ended up here. Dale Lolley does a nice breakdown of what happened right here. It was reported back on Sunday, November 22nd, that running backs J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram, they tested positive for the coronavirus, which became officially confirmed on Monday morning. Then on Monday, November 23rd, they also had, of the Ravens, nose tackle Brendan Williams, who did not play the Titans this past Sunday because of an injury. He was found to be high risk with 1 or 2 for longer than 15 minutes. Then you also had linebacker Pernell McPhee, who was also added to the reserve COVID list right there. So you got 4 players starting right off there off the bat. Then later on, too, the Ravens, they placed Calais Campbell, defensive lineman, on Tuesday, November 24th, who also didn't play because of an injury, but also centers Patrick McCarry and Matt Skura were added to the COVID-19 list. And he also had third string quarterback Trace McSorley. So if you guys are keeping count right there, that is about up to 8 players right there. And then Wednesday, Mike Tomlin had to postpone the walkthrough, trying to wait from the official word of the NFL. The game was going to be played on Thursday night. They announced before 1 p.m. Eastern time that the game will be moved to Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, which would have been on NBC tomorrow. The game would have been called by Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth with Michelle Tafoya on the sideline. That game has been wiped off. Now, instead, the Pittsburgh Steelers are hoping to get this game played on Tuesday night, should there be no more outbreaks of rapid spreading, any more positive tests, where it's from the Steelers or the Ravens, I mean, for that matter. And it's just really a high concern right now, high risk, no doubt about it. But if it is going to be called on Tuesday night, looking on Wikipedia right now, the broadcast crew that we will be looking at, it'll be Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth, along with Michelle Tafoya and Terry McCulley on Tuesday night. So it won't be Al Michaels, it'll just be Mike Tirico instead. Should things go okay right now? The Steelers right now, as everyone is imagining right now, remember, they got a 3-game lead in the division right now with the Browns, who are in second place right now. They will be facing the Jacksonville Jaguars tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. That will be in Jacksonville right there. So, I mean, the Steelers right now for this weekend, they had a chance to at least wrap up a playoff berth simply by beating the Jaguars on in their Week 12 matchup. And then when we also take a look at the NFL, AFC wildcard standings for the time being, when we look at it, let's take a look at that right now. As we look at it, that would also have to require, I think, Vegas. It would have to require a Miami Dolphins loss for them to at least wrap up a playoff spot at the latest right now. So that will have been it right there. I mean, should the Dolphins lost that game, they'd be in the playoffs, I believe, with a win over the Ravens. Remember, we faced the Ravens, beating them head-to-head. That will count for 2 games right there. And that's where we have it right now at this moment in time right now, trying to clinch a playoff spot, trying to get things wrapped up here as we look at it for right now, going into this game for everything that has been happening. Yeah, so basically, I think it would just been like a Raiders loss, by the way, when we look at it. So it will be a Raiders loss plus a win over the Ravens. Again, you can follow me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey. For the Mass Steel Podcast on Twitter, it is at Mass Steel CGR. And on Instagram at Mass Steel Nation. We're talking Steelers, Ravens right now, possibly on the verge of being canceled once again. Let's go on, by the way, in the timeline right now as we look at it for this time being. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving, by the way. Got to enjoy at least some holiday shopping and peace right now for this time. I know it's been pretty hectic, but I will just say this before going any further. I'm very thankful for just being safe, having our families, the virtual interactions, and sports. I mean, more importantly, what I'm thankful for. But let's continue to go down the list right now. After Wednesday, when Mike Tomlin was holding off, then you also had from the Ravens on Wednesday, Jihad Ward. He tested positive for the Ravens. It was added to the COVID-19 list, so that's 9 players. Lamar Jackson, league MVP, the reigning league MVP, and an additional staff member. That made it 10 players. So, and then you also had on here on Friday, you had right now that the Steelers announced that Gerald Hawkins, offensive tackle, and defensive lineman Stephon Tuitt and Isaiah Buggs have been placed on the COVID-19 list. And then along with rookie guard Kevin Dotson. And then, of course, as recently, James Conner today, we find out earlier this afternoon, he's placed on there due to Danny Smith, special teams coordinator, testing positive. And of course, we also learned that Matt Canada was also testing positive, I believe. So those two coaches will not be available for the game. But when we look at it right now, I mean, this sickening spread here. It almost seems like about 16 players right now for the Ravens at this point. And it's just a ridiculous number as we start to see this thing continue to mount up like a beast. But at the same time, too, I mean, this is what we come to expect, I think, from the league right now. I mean, the biggest thing is, too, when we look at I'm looking here from Brooks Willard, 4 players tested positive, 2 coaches tested also for COVID. Yeah, thanks a lot, Brooks. I'm actually reading off. If you guys have a subscription, check out DK Pittsburgh Sports. If you guys sign up for the monthly subscription or whatever, I'm just reading it off right there. Dale Lolley's breaking it down. Thank you very much, by the way. I appreciate the comment right here on this as we take a look at it right now. But, yeah, this is where we're at right now. It's such a mess right now going into this. And the biggest thing, too, I mean, the thing is, if the Steelers are going to force to have this game move to week 18, I mean, you pretty much put them in a scenario right now. Do they delay the start of the playoffs by this point in time when we look at everything right now? Because when you take a look at this, I mean, speaking of which, I mean, when you also had, I mean, coming up right now, I mean, week 18. So I don't know if the league will consider like pushing the playoffs a week, or would that game take place during the weekend of the wild card matchups where the Steelers and Ravens would play in that. So either way, I mean, you're taking a very big risk losing your bye here at the end of the day. I mean, which is really stings. But not only that, but losing money too. And not only that too, I mean, the team who's set up for next year, I mean, right now, who's supposed to be in tremendous debt between over close to $20 million in salary cap, over the cap, and possibly around $30 million in effective cap space. So you got a lot of things you got to really think about over here. Is it really worth punishing right now? Bob Papiani of 93.7 The Fan seems to think that we did have a Ravens coach who was interacting with these players. I mean, the trace right there, he needs to be held to a higher standard. And why should the Ravens get off scotch-free? I mean, he believes that they kind of started this. The only problem is with that when we look at both sides of this argument right now. I mean, and I agree with guys like Stephen A. Smith and people from ESPN. I mean, do we actually have any legitimate proof that these Ravens players were out anywhere? Were they socializing? Were they doing something outside where they caught this from somewhere? So far, we have no reports of this. Because you got to remember, with a virus like this, I mean, one of the things is, too, this thing could be very airborne right now. When you talk about a game like football right now, especially for when it plays in colder seasons more likely, I mean, you're running a very high risk right now. And I'm not so sure right now where I get like a little nervous right now. If this is where we're at right now, what's going to happen for like next year? Do we possibly fear of a player strike? I mean, right now, I mean, a lot of players got to be paying attention to this. I mean, you got your CBA done back in March, right around St. Patrick's Day. And the thing is, you really got to think about, are players really starting to be concerned about their safety going forward? Because remember, we're still waiting on a cured medical thing, like a shot to try and get this thing cleansed for us. I mean, to like have people a flu shot to have this thing go away. That has not been out there yet. We're probably looking around sometime by like next summer around July. So, I mean, if that's going on right there, who's to say this thing does not spread into the next season? We don't know. I mean, is this thing going to be stalled further? I mean, we just have no idea. I just gotta believe right now the players union right now gotta be detailing this right now, and you have to be thinking on the side of caution. I think it's too late to do a bubble personally right now at this point. I think if anything, you do a bubble environment at least next year. I don't think it's kind of last moment right now to even put anything in effect. Now I know Michael Irvin and Ray Lewis were one of the first guys who I recall mentioning it, talked about why not implement a bubble environment when you get to like months of December and January. The problem is they're talking about this back in October. The league has not shown any plans, and a lot of people around the league have been speculating why not do a bubble environment. The problem is I don't think the league has come out with any assured plans to roll such thing out, and that's where we're at right now. And I just feel that it should have been some planning. It should have been some incorporating right now. And the thing is, too, I mean, the league will always say, well, listen, we gave a lot of players an opportunity to opt out of the season due to concerns over the COVID-19 concerns right here. I mean, with the season right now, when we look at it, I mean, basically, and you look at the opt out right here, and for this season, we had a grand total of 67 players opting out of the season here. I mean that's a lot of players right here. I mean, when we take a look at it, when we break it down here, and I'm not so sure like how this is fair right now. And another thing is too, I gotta be real with you guys. I mean, as much as we're enjoying this season right now, Steelers right now, not having lose a game so far. I mean, I gotta tell you, I mean, one of the games I definitely have a little legitimate concern with, I really haven't questioned, will have probably been maybe the Browns game. I mean, the Steelers did beat them handily, don't get me wrong, in Heinz Field, but they had 5 players opt out of the season. And for the Browns, I mean, when you look at it too, there was only one starter, was defensive tackle Andrew Billings right here. And then you have a pair of guards and an offensive tackle here. I mean, when you really shake things up here, I mean, the Ravens also had 2 players opt out for the season. I mean, going into this year with the pandemic and everything that's been happening here. I mean, I gotta be honest with you. I think at least definitely more than likely, looking back at this thing, they probably lose the Titans game and maybe could have had a loss against the Browns. I have no idea, but I just will say, I mean, as much as you want to look at this undefeated season, I definitely do feel like it's a little bit unfair to call yourself a perfect team when you had some teams opt out along the way. Again, we're talking Steelers, Ravens. The rapid COVID starting to spread like wildfire right now. I want to hear your thoughts right now as we look at, and also too, by the way, the Ravens who were supposed to be facing the Cowboys on Thursday night, they moved that game to Monday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, here's another thing to think about too for the Ravens side of it. Let's say if the Steelers Ravens game does not get played at all, and we play devil's advocate here. Does the Ravens Cowboys game go back to Thursday night? That's another possibility right here. But I want to get back into this report, which kicked off the day earlier today, which we found out somewhere between like I want to say it was like 2, 3 o'clock around the afternoon. Aditi Kinkhabwala of NFL Network, who confirmed with Pro Football Talk, reported that James Conner tested positive along with a member of the coaching staff, with one member. That member, according to WDVD 102.3 WDVE in Pittsburgh, said that it was special teams coach Danny Smith. He tested positive. And then we also heard later on, too, was also quarterback coach Matt Canada. So those two coaches will not be available for this Ravens game. And I got to tell you right now, I would have no problem if they had to repostpone this game or if there's got to be a forfeit. I don't like to see players lose money at this, but at the same time, when we got to look at it too right now, I mean, this is the biggest thing where we got to look at right now and see like how bad do we really want to get the season in. NFL knew the risk right here. They keep marching and going forward. And I mean, it's what you gotta expect right here. I mean, they just seem to keep not caring. I mean, just trying to do whatever they gotta do to get their season in. The biggest thing if this game does get played, where I do get concerned in this contest, you step onto it. I think for me, and then James Conner, I think those two guys will be the biggest losses. I mean, you got Stephon Tuitt right now, who has the second most tackles on the defensive line with 23. I mean, with when we take a look at, he has 32 tackles altogether with 23 solo, 9 assisted, behind Cam Hayward's 34 total tackles, 20 solo, 14 assisted. And also, too, we already knew heading into today that the Steelers, they were not going to be planning on practice, according to Dale Lolley. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely very concerned right now. A season that looked so promising. My only concern is right now, how much more rapid does this thing continue to spread across right now? I mean, throughout this team. I mean, more importantly, more Ravens players. I mean, do the Steelers miss this game and then they just go right into the Washington football team? Do they still play that game on Sunday? Do they still somehow? I mean, is this force another bye in a way where they do not play this weekend? They play next Sunday instead. I mean, the thing is, too, even if the Steelers were to play the Ravens, as far as we know, I believe Lamar Jackson was ruled out of this game. They would have had to face RG3, who did pretty darn good against the Steelers in the finale of the game last season. And let's not forget how that was. I mean, Grant, that was a lot of horrible rain right there. Such a windy day in that contest on the final game of the season. The Steelers definitely got whipped in that contest right there. And it did not look pretty right there. I mean, still had a chance of getting in the playoffs, but when we look at that final game of the season versus Ravens right here in that contest, I mean, RG3, I mean, he just did more or less with his legs in that game. He had 50 yards rushing off of 8 attempts rushing. But, I mean, mainly, I mean, in that contest, it was Gus Edwards who did most of the damage right there, along with Robert Griffin. And, of course, Justice Hill, who also had 10 carries for 39 yards, nearly 4 yards average. So this is where I get concerned at right now. Once again, the biggest question is, I want to hear from you, Steeler Nation. Do you think the Ravens players, and of course the Steelers right now at this point, I got to tell you, a lot of people right now, I don't know about anyone else, but I think a lot of Steelers fans are getting way overconfident going into this game. Way overconfident. Because we have no freaking clue if there's going to be any more guys added to this list within the next 3 days at this point. I mean, can you honestly sit back and say that, just hold our breath and think that no one's going to get sick, no one's going to test positive? We have no freaking clue at this point. I'm gonna tell you right now, if everything continues to go the way it is right now, I still say play the game. I mean, last thing you want to do is be losing money on the table. But I think you don't want to be in a position, too, where you have to play a Week 18 matchup. Then you play your first round of the playoffs. And if so, does that mean you still have your bye week? Does the league still carry the 14-game format? Does it go up to 16 games? Remember, the owners did approve the NFL Competition Committee's plan to have the playoffs expand to 16 teams. Should they not have any significant games finished for the season? They continue to lose more games along the way. You got to look at another crazy situation, too. The Denver Broncos, they have no quarterback for tomorrow. Their whole quarterback depth chart has no one going in tomorrow, which is crazy. Crazy against the New Orleans Saints. They're going to be hosting that game in Denver. I mean, which is really sickening here at Empower Field at Mile High. That is just unbelievably absurd right there. It just goes to show you how reality this thing is right now. And I just kind of ease with the side of caution once again here as we look at things right now. So let's see if we can get some more reports on this thing going on right now here on the Steel podcast here. And yeah, that seems to be about it for right now. But I mean, the good news is, I mean, you do have like guys like Tyson Alalalo and Chris Wormley. It looks like ready to be in at the right time should this game get played. Real quickly, I just want to hear your thoughts. I know we had Thanksgiving on Thursday. I know it was a bummer there was no game, but let me just say this to all you fans right now who's watching this podcast. I feel for you. It was a bummer not having a Thursday night treat for the third and final game. I mean, despite the fact every Thanksgiving it seems to be the Lions and the Cowboys hosting it. But let me just say this. Health-wise, being safe, and having some sort of sports come back is more than enough for me. That's what I'm thankful for. And I'm also thankful for the technology we had all this year, interacting through videos like Zoom and everything. I think, if anything, this year, I'm very thankful to have all that on our side. I just think we have to really look hard in the mirror and really start to think right now. Listen, for anybody who wants to see sports come back and come back at a safe rate, I'm thankful we got something to nothing. Bottom line is we still got NBA playoffs wrapped up with a champion crowned. So I was glad to see the Lakers, by the way, which was one of my favorite teams. You also had a Stanley Cup playoffs come back so far. I think they did it the smartest way, right up there with the NBA. You also had baseball complete their season. They got a World Series championship. So you not only saw a Stanley Cup champion with the Tampa Bay Lightning, the LA Lakers winning their NBA championship once again, first time in over a decade. And then you also have the Los Angeles Dodgers ending a 32-year World Series drought. I think, if anything, and then still having football throughout this all these months right now, that is more than enough for me. I definitely got what I wanted so far. Definitely want to see this season get finished. I definitely feel a lot more sorry, a little bit more sympathy for a lot of high schools and some colleges who are very concerned there and have to cancel games and are taking a little bit more of the hard hits, if you ask me. I mean, especially for students who are trying to get scholarships going into colleges. That's going to do it for wrap for this edition here of the Master Podcast. I would be having my pregame on Sunday, but instead, since it's being moved to Tuesday, should it still go on, tune into me on Monday night. I'll give you my game day preview instead of Tuesday. So I'll give you my game day preview. I'll return back at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Monday for the pregame. Make sure you keep it here on Facebook and Instagram Live. Apologize for anyone who's seeing the stream and realizing what the heck. Why is there no Instagram Live? I'm just doing Facebook Live tonight. I'll share my video when I get a second. But once again, feel free. And I just want to say thank you to all the followers on Twitter right now. Appreciate all you guys right now and love everybody. Thanks for the show of support. And we'll see what happens. As always, leave you. Don't be trolling. Be rolling hero swords. Here we go. I gone.
Hey, you blink, I'll cut your eyelids off. Don't you blink. I got you. Let's go.